Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's been like 2 years and yeah, I feel like there's a lot to get into, but like I decided to take time off. Booktube wasn't fulfilling for me anymore and I decided that it just wasn't something I wanted to do. And I've since changed my mind on that and I wanted to start doing some stuff again. So this is my first video back. I'm also going to film like a couple other things today and I'm going to do I'm going to start a vlog. So I'm just going to kind of ease into things and see how I feel. But I thought a really fun way to like get back into things was to revisit one of my videos that I filmed before I stopped posting. So I posted a lot in 2019 and then I kind of stopped at the end of January of 2020. I think it's because I was number one, trying to push myself too hard in January. Number two, the whole algorithm of YouTube and how you grow and what content works and what content doesn't, and all of that just wasn't something that was beneficial for me. It was taking more of a toll on me than it was worth. And I also found myself trying to fit into the status quo of YouTube at the time, and that wasn't really fulfilling for me and it wasn't content that I would have watched. So all that to say, I stopped. But one of the videos I filmed before I left was 20 books I want to read in 2020, and it's very interesting revisiting that because obviously that was filmed in like December, January of 2019 or 2020, and obviously a lot has changed since then, not only with the world but also with myself. I was in college at the time. I've since graduated college. My reading tastes have changed drastically. At that time I was reading very heavily in the YA genre. Now I read a lot more adult and less YA. I now have a little cat. His name is Theo. He's eyeing the camera, which is why he's very confused. You gonna come visit? No, okay. So he might make a special appearance during this as well. But I thought it'd be fun to go back and watch it. I revisited it earlier today for like a couple seconds and I was like, oh my gosh, this would be hilarious to react to, because I noticed that I haven't read a lot of those things, and maybe in the coming weeks I can film like a vlog where I try and read those. So we're gonna watch it together and it's gonna be a great time. Okay? Okay. This is Theo. He's my best friend. The first book I want to read in 2020 is Star Daughter. Okay, we're starting off strong. I do own this one now. So all the ones that have a picture, I did not own. I own that one now. I found it at Half Price Books. I bought it maybe a year ago. I still have not read it. I still do not know anything about it. So that's funny. To no surprise to any of you, I have Infinity Sun by Adam Silvera. Okay, I've read Infinity Sun. I hated it. I hated it. So Adam Silvera is my favorite author, which I think I mentioned in this, and this is his fantasy debut. And I can't even tell you any of the plot. It's got something to do with phoenixes. The world building was so bad, which was everyone's big complaint with this book, is that the world building wasn't good, and I totally agree with that. And furthermore, the writing was just not very good. I think I'm really into Adam Silvera's contemporaries, and I think he does an excellent job with that. I own the second one of this. I will not be reading it. I just have no desire to. I gave this 2 stars solely because it was an Adam Silvera book. Had the book been by any other author, it would have gotten a 1, no doubt. So that's interesting. Then I have Frankly in Love by David Hume. Another one that I have not read. Frankly in Love. I bought that one because there was a lot of hype on it on Bookstagram and Booktube at the time, and I was really into the idea of it, and I just haven't read it. I don't know why. I don't think there's a particular reason why I haven't read it. I just don't think it's something that really stands out to me on my bookshelves. But I have a lot of YA contemporaries that I kind of want to get through, because as I mentioned, I'm not super into YA contemporaries anymore, so I want to see if it's maybe like the YA contemporaries I'm picking up, or if it's just YA in general. Theo is right by the camera. He's gonna stick, yep. He's so confused about my tripod. He's smelling my camera. Bubs, I'm trying to film. There's only so much daylight we have left, bud. It's about to rain. You can't just get in like that. Say hi. Say hi, everybody. Hello, doo-doo-doo. He's not scary. He's not scary.
I have Girls of Paper and Fire by Natasha Nyan.
Haven't read that. Still don't know what it's about. I don't know if it's in my unhaul pile though. I have quite a few books lately that I've decided that I want to unhaul, and I don't know if this is in it. I think it's because the cover's so pretty that I have like a hard time getting rid of it, and everyone really loved this back when it was popular. Everyone was talking about it, another reason why I picked it up. Sometimes I pick up books because they're hyped, but hype isn't enough for me to make me want to read a book. I don't know. I think I've stopped doing that now. Like, there's a lot of book talk titles that I'm like, why would I ever pick that up? That's definitely not something I want to read, and I think I've gotten a little bit more critical when picking something up. So yeah, this is definitely, I don't know if it's something I'd read. I'll have to revisit. Maybe it'll be something I revisit in a vlog and watch it be like one of my favorites, and I've owned it for like 3 years. That's what happened with History's All You Left Me, so you never know.
Next up I have Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco.
Stalking Jack the Ripper by Carrie Maniscalco. Have not read. In fact, so many books have been published in that series, and I haven't read a single one. And that's all I can really say to that. Also, something I've noticed in this video is the shelves. My shelves look so different now. You'll see them soon. They look so different, and I no longer have Harry Potter. I've gotten rid of most of my Harry Potter. I think I kept like one of the UK editions and then that illustrated one. I got rid of all of my, or I'm getting rid of all of my hardcover Harry Potters. It's unfortunate, but it is what happened. So, also the ACOTAR series, I still own the original covers, and this was before A Court of Silver Flames. Wow, I'm like seeing so many titles that I've unhauled. That's hilarious. Okay, let's keep going.
I have King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo.
King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo. Take a guess if I've read it. If you said no, you would be correct. The funny thing is that I bought this right before I went on a trip. We were at a Barnes & Noble, and I was so excited about it. I was like, I'm gonna have such a hard time like waiting to read it until we're on the trip. And you know what I didn't read on that trip? That book. And you know what I still haven't read? That book. So it's very interesting, like when I buy something, how excited I am for it, and I still haven't read it to this day. Since this video, the second book in this duology has come out. This is the Nikolai duology, following Nikolai, who is featured in both the Six of Crows duology as well as the Shadow and Bone trilogy. This series now has a TV show, which I still haven't watched.
I have The Cruel Prince by Holly Black.
The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I still own the first paperback, and people have told me that once you read it, you're gonna want the second one, and once you read the second one, you're gonna want the third. So I've decided that I'm gonna just like borrow the other ones from my library at the same time. This was a Book Talk title. I think it still kind of is, but like when Book Talk first really took like ground, this was one of the ones, as well as like Throne of Glass and ACOTAR, books that I had read prior, or had owned or heard about prior. And so that was really interesting with Book Talk, is seeing like almost how late the Book Talk community was in terms of like releases. And you know, the BookTube and Bookstagram communities really loved these titles like years prior. So it was really interesting to see like a resurgence of ACOTAR and Throne of Glass and The Cruel Prince, because those were all titles that I was wanting to read in like 2018, 2019. So it's just really interesting to see. That being said, I did want to read it. I still have not, so I don't know what that really says about anything.
Next up, we have Serpent and Dove by Shelby.
Serpent and Dove. Serpent and Dove was a book I picked up, number one, because it was hyped, but number two, I had this idea to do a video of books that had the same, like the author had the same name as me, or like the same initials, and then I just wasn't able to find anything that I really wanted to do other than Serpent and Dove, and that never happened. So that's why I picked that up, and that's why it was in this video. I still haven't read it.
We have the Gilded Ones.
The Gilded Ones. I own that now. That hadn't been published yet. I own it now. Don't know what it's about.
You Had Me at Ola.
You Had Me at Ola by Alexis Dadia. I have read that. I think I gave it 3 stars, and the sequel is out now. It's called A Lot Like Adios, and I have not read the sequel. I own the sequel. I pre-ordered the sequel, and yeah. What really drew me to this title was the cover. I won't lie to you. A lot of decisions I make, especially in contemporary romance, are cover-based. And I won't apologize for that. I'm obsessed with the beautiful illustrated covers. In fact, this same cover illustrator has another book. I think it's the same cover illustrator, if not very similar style. I don't remember the author, but I think the title's called Vanessa Jared's Got a Man. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful cover. Okay book, at least regarding You Had Me at Ola.
This is kind of a grouping. I really want to read all of Cassandra Clare's, or most of Cassandra Clare's writing. She's got a lot. But
okay, I said I wanted to read some or most of Cassandra Clare's writing. I have read the first trilogy, the first Mortal Instruments trilogy, so City of Bones, City of Ashes, City of Glass. And then I tried the prequel trilogy. So Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess, and Clockwork Angel. I don't know if that's the correct order. Couldn't really get into those. So have not ventured far into that. I do want to reread them. I still own them. I want to try again. And if at that point I'm still not super interested, then I will get rid of them. But I need to give them a second shot because it's been so long since I've read them. I think I did read the first trilogy in 2020 and just never really continued.
Along those same lines, Throne of Glass by Sarah J.
Throne of Glass. Okay, Throne of Glass is an interesting one. Throne of Glass, I read some of this series, like spring and summer of 2021, and I actually stopped at, what did I stop at? Empire of Storms? The one you like co-read with Tower of Dawn. That never made sense to me, and I got halfway through and then found out you typically like tandem read them, and I stopped. And I stopped back in late August of 2021. It is now April of 2022, and I haven't picked them up. Yeah, that's how Throne of Glass has gone. I've got mixed ratings for those. I think there's some that were like 4 or 5, and then some that were 2. So kind of a hodgepodge there, if you will.
The next book I have is Scythe by Neal Shusterman.
Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Take a guess. I haven't read it. Oh my god, are you doing biscuits? No, you're not. You're walking away now that I've called you out. So Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Haven't read it. I think there was just another cover reveal actually for another book in this series. I don't know how big this series is. I thought it was going to be a trilogy. I guess I was wrong.
Rainbow Rowell's Carry On. Need I say more? I've mentioned this so many times already.
I've read it. And I've read the sequel, Wayward Son. And then there's a third one that came out recently, but I stopped after Wayward Son and really don't have any interest in continuing. Starting off as a Harry Potter retelling, red flag, but I appreciated kind of rewriting some of the stuff that's not my favorite in Harry Potter, but it's not something that I'm really drawn to anymore, and I think I'm content leaving it like that, and I think I'm actually in the process of unhauling that book. It's just, you know, I don't think it's for me anymore, and I think that's okay.
And I have The Lost Hero. This is The
Lost Hero. So I've read, I think one of my goals, I have a video of goals for 2020, and I think one of them was reading through more of Rick Riordan's catalog. I haven't done that. I've read the Percy Jackson series, and that's the only thing of his writing that I've read. Am I opposed to continuing on? No, I just don't think I've carved out the time or desire to read that yet. But it stays on my shelf continuously because I know it's something that I do want to get to someday.
Eliza and Her Monsters.
Eliza and Her Monsters. You know what? I haven't read that. I don't know if that's one that I've unhauled. I guess we'll have to see eventually. I'm so sorry that I haven't read so many of these, but this is gonna create great content later on, I assure you.
Read Before I Go by Riley Weston. This is
So I said I wanted to read this for sentimental reasons, and that was because it was gifted to me by my good friend Alex. I have not read it. Apparently she said it makes you cry, which sounds totally up my alley, but it didn't have an audiobook, and a lot of 2020, 2021 was audiobook listening for me. I love audiobooks, still do to this day. There was never an audiobook available for that, so I just never picked it up.
This is actually one of my current library rentals, so I'll be getting through this a little bit quicker. But The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren.
Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren! I loved it. It was 5 stars. I think I actually read it when I had the library hold, maybe. But I did love The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. That was a 5-star read. Continues to remain one of my favorites. Again, another one that was really popular on Book Talk when Book Talk took off. Again, another interesting one where it's like they were picking up titles that I had noticed a couple years before, and it was just so fascinating to see the resurgence of all these titles. But I did love The Unhoneymooners, and I think it deserves all the hype that it gets.
I'll lump these together because I kind of want to read both. We have Geekerella and The Princess and the Fangirl.
Geekerella and Princess and the Fangirl. There's a third one that's come out. It's like Bookish and the Beast or something like that. Geekerella was okay. I didn't really like the fangirl fandom aspect and continue to not like that in books, including Spoiler Alert by Olivia Dade. It's just not a trope that I really find myself gravitating towards. So I did not like Geekerella and continued on to Princess and the Fangirl because someone I knew recommended the series to me, and they were like, oh, but the second one is really good, keep going. So I did, and I didn't like it. And I think it's that fandom aspect of things, especially the con. It just didn't work for me. If it works for you, great. It didn't work for me, and I won't be continuing.
The Twisted Tale retellings.
I still haven't read a single one of those. Do you know how many times the Twisted Tale retellings have ended up in my TBRs? Way more than I care to admit. And you know how many times I've read them? Not once. Not once. I'm not proud. Okay, so that's it. So I think the conclusion we came to was I've maybe read 2 or 3 of the 20. So I think I've got some solid content for some vlogs coming up. Maybe I'll split I'll have to actually go out and like count how many I've read versus haven't. I'll put the stats here. And then I'll divide them up equally and do like a certain amount of vlogs for them. So stay tuned for that in the future because I definitely need to get to some of these. If I no longer have interest in continuing them when the vlogs come around, I'm okay with like losing interest in a few books. But I would like to get to the majority of them, especially the ones that I still mentioned I'm interested in and still own and continue to gravitate towards. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you're excited to see some other vlogs around this revisiting my old TBR. I think it's going to be a blast to do with y'all. If you have any titles that you have been dying to read for years, I'd love to know them in the comments below. I really look forward to kind of continuing to explore the world of books with you guys on this channel, and I just appreciate you being here and allowing me to have this space to share my love of books with you all and to grow and build a community. It means a lot to me, and so I really appreciate you being here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Happy reading! Ah! Oh my god, what's under my eye? If that was there for the whole video, no it wasn't. Thanks.